Hey everyone, welcome to Critical Hit!
It's the only show on the internet that's recommended by 4 out of 5 dentists.
Dentists, listen to what they say. They're good at podcasting?
I guess. I was honestly expecting you to question me on that, so...
No, I was just at my dentist earlier this week, and she's a great lady.
Oh, cool.
I love how she takes care of my teeth.
Yeah, I haven't been to the dentist in years.
You're supposed to get a cleaning every 6 months, or your
teeth
will actually fall out.
Well, they seem to be alright so far.
Yeah, that was me. I had about 2 cavities my entire life up until my 20s when I lost all my money, stopped seeing the dentist. Next time I finally saw a dentist, I had 19 cavities, and they were like, your teeth are gonna fucking fall out.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
You and all my friends and my wife are just like, wow, it's been years since I saw the dentist.
That's because no one likes going to the dentist.
And then I'm like, okay, if you don't want to see the dentist every day, like I had to after I discovered that, you should try and see them once every 6 months.
I know.
This has been a PSA brought to you by Critical Hit.
Judith specifically. Fine. I will eventually see the dentist, probably.
Yeah, and anybody listening who hasn't seen the dentist in 6 months,
consider this your reminder.
Yeah. The next time your tooth falls out, you can think, I should have listened to Judith.
Man, I have so many dreams where my teeth fall out.
Me too.
It's gross and
They got
weird.
worse when I found out I had 19
but like,
cavities.
I know that it's a stress-related thing and that it's actually kind of common, but at the same time, it's like...
Yeah, I don't care how common it is. Every time it happens, I get really upset.
It's gross and weird and unsettling.
It's really primal because you're losing your one big natural defense, your teeth and your nails.
Let's just dive into topics because this is going to make me really uncomfortable later.
Sure. Let's just announce beforehand what our topics are.
Okay, so I'm going to be talking about Nintendo again. Go figure. They just had a fairly large announcement leading up to E3 last week, although at the rate that I've been uploading these, it's probably closer like 2 weeks ago.
And I'm going to be talking about CGI and VFX in movies and basically how it kind of sucks now, despite getting better and better throughout the years.
Sucks as in the CG sucks or the use of CG sucks?
The execution.
Okay. So, would you like to go first?
Oh,
or would you like me to go first?
If you're going to let ladies go first, how could I refuse the invitation?
Go right ahead.
Well, part of the thing that brought this up is that we were going to go see Mad Max Fury Road. And we did, and it was awesome, and I loved it.
I keep seeing previews for it, and I really want to see it, and everyone's been going on about how great it is, and like this is the kind of movie that I love.
Yeah, it's a 2-hour car chase.
I haven't seen it.
There are several scenes with a guy who's just on a moving vehicle, surrounded by amps, playing an electric guitar that shoots fire.
I know. I would watch 2 hours of just that.
Just that. That guy actually looks really creepy when you get close up on his face.
I hear that there's already plans for a sequel, and that guy's going to be in it. Again.
Wait, you heard that guy's going to be in it specifically? I don't remember.
With his guitar and his fire-breathing guitar.
I don't know if he could be.
I
one shot near the end that where I remembered that I was watching the movie in 3D because the guitar comes flying at your face. And it's one of the last things you see before a scene change.
Wait, you watched it in 3D?
Yeah, we
What's
watched
wrong
it
with
at
you?
this really, really cool theater. My friend bought tickets for us, so he chose.
Oh, okay.
And we saw it at this theater that's like on 83rd Street. I forget what it was called, but everybody got a giant red leather seat all to themselves that could recline. You could watch the movie in a laying down position. There was enough space. Yeah, it's good to live in New York.
No kidding.
But yeah, I heard that the fire that came out of that electric guitar was a practical effect.
There are so many practical effects in this movie, Judith.
Mm-hmm.
All the stunt work is real.
All the creepy looking guys, they're all wearing makeup.
Mm-hmm.
The stunts are real, like you just said.
Yeah. The fire was real, the stunts were real, the location was real, the people were real.
Like, I know the electric sandstorm wasn't real.
Maybe.
It stood out just as much as it was supposed to, believe me.
But yeah, this movie is like, I haven't seen it, but from what I've heard, it's like 80%, 90% actual practical effects.
And it's amazing. It's
The
so
thing,
fast paced and so visually oriented. There's almost no talking in this movie compared to other films.
I am so down for that. I am so down for Charlize Theron and her
She's
badass
really hot. She's really hot in this
prosthetic
movie.
arm and her shaved head and
Yeah. Yeah. It was just a rush. Everything good you've heard about it is true.
I'm gonna see. I have to see it like this weekend, maybe tomorrow. I don't know. I haven't seen it, and I'm disappointed in myself.
You should be. It's all your fault.
I know,
We'll
but
see it
that's
this
not
weekend.
what we're talking about.
We'll see it this weekend.
This weekend or next
Yeah.
weekend?
It's this coming. That's when Memorial Day is. Where
Oh
we're
yeah,
gonna hang out then.
yeah, it is this weekend.
And now you know our plans, everyone.
Yes, Judith's coming over. We're gonna do cool things together.
Like see Mad Max.
Yeah.
But the friend of mine who bought us the tickets, he does VFX and other cool things, motion graphics for a living. So he's really into that kind of thing. And he pointed out that there's very, very few CG shit in Mad Max. And he linked me to this article that's talking about CGI in movies in general. And it says a bunch of stuff that I've been thinking for a while. It's basically saying modern CGI looks really bad, despite the fact that the technology has made leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
And one of the examples he pulls a lot is Jurassic Park.
Oh, Jurassic World, the one that's coming out.
No, he's talking about a good example in Jurassic Park.
Oh, right. Yeah, Jurassic Park. Oh my God, those the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park were primarily models.
Right. There were not a whole lot of scenes where they were actually CGI.
I mean there were a couple when they're running around, and you can't have that many actual physical models running by on screen. That's
Right.
just way too much money.
Exactly, but what you're saying is they used the CG when they needed to.
Yeah, but like for the close-up shot of the T-Rex's eye, that's a legit, like, that's physically there. That's really there.
Yeah. When I saw the Jurassic World trailer, I was so disappointed.
Yeah, I got the same feeling because it's a lot of,
It's nothing but CGI.
yeah.
Those raptors in that scene with Chris Pratt, whatever his name is,
Yeah.
they look like cartoons.
They look like CG dinosaurs.
And that removes everything from it. Everything that inspired all that, the thrills and the terror from the original. Because you know immediately upon looking at them that they're not there, which takes you, they're not real.
They're
Takes
not
you out of
real.
the story, it takes you out of the moment, and all you're doing is watching some CG dinosaurs, and you're watching Chris Pratt pretend that he can see them too.
Yeah, I mean that type of thing, it's so hard to do when you're acting against nothing.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I was watching a short clip of Age of Ultron, behind the scenes stuff. That scene, that big back-to-back,
Oh, I
everyone's fighting
still
in a
haven't seen
circle.
Age of Ultron.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was waiting to see it with a certain friend who just hasn't been able to make it.
It's okay.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So there's a scene where they're all fighting in a big circle and, showing off, hey, there are all these cool guys fighting in a circle. Look at them go.
Right.
And they're fighting all these CG robots. And the digital quality of them is really good because they have Disney money now.
Yeah, they do.
But I saw this behind the scenes clip where it was all of them fighting before the CG robots were added in.
Right.
And it just looks so ridiculous because, like, one of them's just throwing her arms around doing all this supposed magic stuff, and Captain America's punching the floor, and
So there's actually nobody there. There's like no stand-ins.
There's nobody there. They're just, because there's so many robots on screen, they're just like, blah, blah, blah.
I feel like they could have just had a couple people there for some reference for the actors.
I guess, but for the most part they didn't, and especially in that big circular scene, they just had them go crazy, and they're like, all right, do whatever you want, just
Like,
fight the thing.
maybe the camera was moving around wildly enough that people wouldn't notice. I don't know. Or maybe those actors are just so used to responding to absolutely nothing
Probably.
at this point.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't either.
But yeah, there's really a huge difference in reacting to nothing as seen in the new Jurassic World and the Age of Ultron, as opposed to dealing with something that's there and then they edit over, like in the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Right.
And then there's a further step beyond that where you actually have the physical object that you're reacting to.
And you know what? Sometimes that's better.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah, I know you would. And even you're talking from an actor standpoint. From an audience standpoint, we can tell. We can tell that those things are made by CG.
We can definitely tell.
One thing that the scene, one of the many scenes this article referenced, was the Clever Girl scene from the original Jurassic Park. And he said they used a puppet for the dinosaur that's right up in his face. And it's such a difference because it actually is right up in his face. We're in that moment watching the robot dinosaur interact with the real guy, but we're not thinking about how it's a robot at that moment.
We're thinking, oh god, there's a dinosaur there.
Yeah. Why do you think nobody forgot that scene?
What's really, it's actually pretty funny.
And not just because it's infinitely memeable, but...
That's true. What's pretty great about that is that they can take the dinosaurs from these movies and then put them in Universal Studios.
Yeah. Or in Toys R Us. No.
Yeah, they can have the actual dinosaur that they used there, and you're like, oh my god, it's real. It's real.
You mentioned Peter Jackson's movies, like Lord of the Rings. Yeah.
What he likes to do is have a great deal of people in makeup, but for the things that he can't have in makeup, like Gollum or the exceptionally tall orcs and creatures like that, or the Stephen Fry Goblin King.
Yeah.
Is they have someone standing there in a green suit, and then at least there's something there to interact with.
Yeah, and they CG over them.
Yeah.
And they have all those pins and stuff glued to the actor's face so that they can do mocap and all that. And only studios who are that good should be doing mocap, by the way.
Right. And they actually did this in Avatar, too.
Which Avatar?
The blue alien one.
Okay.
So what they did in Avatar was they had all the actors on set, and everyone was there. And they had the little mocap pins all over their face and everything. And what was really interesting was that they were being rendered as their character, their blue alien character, in real time.
And that is pretty fascinating. And that movie was lauded for its visual prowess, I remember.
Right, because it wasn't particularly good at anything else. But the thing is, that movie, like the Peter Jackson films and like the original Jurassic Park films, those movies take the fact that it's really difficult for people to act against nothing and give them something to work with. Whether it's something in your face and really realistic like a dinosaur, or a dude in a green suit
hopping around like a monkey
and making weird noises.
Yeah, and I was so floored at the practical effects in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, especially the makeup, which won them an Academy Award.
Oh yeah,
at least once.
And lost an Academy Award to Les Mis later on. I was so disappointed.
Yeah, that's for costuming or for makeup?
For makeup. For hair and makeup.
That's just bizarre.
Did we talk about this on the show before?
Wait. Are we talking about The Hobbit?
The Hobbit versus Les Mis. They lost in hair and
that
makeup.
Was for makeup?
Yeah. Yeah.
See, where I was getting to with this is the orcs in Lord of the Rings looked like actual orcs. Like, what if they were real?
Yeah, what if these monster creatures existed and not just... what if we took Dungeons and Dragons footage and all this stuff from Halo, and they made them. They physically made them, and it's a huge it's a huge plus over things that use just CG.
The makeup was that good. And then The Hobbit, everybody's CG.
No, I disagree. That's not true.
No. Remember the white orc who easily could have been a guy in makeup?
He was mostly a guy in makeup.
He did not look like it.
I know, but all of the dwarves were guys in makeup.
No, I'm talking about the monsters. Like the
I know.
dwarves and stuff, they're mostly human. It was only in the crazy action scenes that nobody could physically ever pull off that they became CG robot people. But I mean, like the orcs and the wolves they rode, they stood out so much, and not in a good way.
It is really easy to pick out that sort of thing.
Incredibly. And I was so disappointed in them for moving away from what they had done with Lord of the Rings, from moving away from using real actors, from creating these things in real life.
Yeah, it's just, I guess maybe they didn't have enough money?
I find that so hard to believe.
So do I.
If they didn't have enough money, then why did the Hobbit movies even exist?
Because they already made the first Lord of the Rings movies.
Why did 3 Hobbit movies exist?
Money,
if they didn't have enough
money. They want to make money.
They had money to make money.
I know.
But yeah, that's one of the things that really, really pisses me off about the use of CG. It's lazily executed.
A lot of the times, yeah, it doesn't even need to be there.
Mm-hmm. Another thing this article points out is that there are no limits on it, which makes directors forget that reality has limits.
Oh yeah, like gravity.
Gravity.
The fact that there's a camera and.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
I'm looking at this article too.
Yeah. The scene where Legolas slides down the elephant that he just killed, and he looks kind of like.
Oh my god. I
know he's supposed to be really light-footed and stuff, but the article has a point that he really looks like a cartoon when he's doing this kind of stuff.
I remember seeing that scene in the theater, and I'm like, wow, that looks so fake.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was a well-choreographed elephant killing scene, but Legolas just suddenly turns into a robot and murders everyone on top of the elephant and then slides off like he's on a skateboard.
Yeah. And
it was silly.
It is completely silly. It doesn't make that you can use CG as long as it's used to benefit something.
Yeah. I mean, to this scene's credit, maybe not to its credit, but I know a lot of people like watching it. And when my wife and I went to go see Return of the King at Lincoln Center, performed to a live orchestra. Yeah. The guy in front of me was such a Legolas fan. He was like 50 years old or more. But every time Legolas had a scene, he would jump up and get all excited and start wagging back and forth. And then at the end of this elephant killing scene, he pumped both fists into the air and then started clapping.
Steve-o.
The only other people I'd seen in my life who were such big Legolas fans were teenage girls back in the day.
And for good reason.
Mm-hmm.
Orlando Bloom's pretty hot.
Yeah, that picture of him hopping up and down on the rocks as they're falling, though.
Oh my god.
That really looks very silly.
It looks so dumb. There's a point at which it stops being badass and it starts looking stupid.
Yeah, but especially after having worked with people in production, worked with directors and creators, they don't think it looks stupid. It's their vision.
They're dumb.
They don't think it looks stupid.
That's because they are stupid.
They think it's going to be really badass. And everybody has to do what they say. For the most part. But when you remove the limits from them and tell them, hey, this computer can make a scene where literally anything can happen, then they forget boundaries are important to make the audience believe this is actually happening.
Yeah. It's really interesting to consider that when you do CG in a live action thing and they remove the boundaries, it looks stupid. But when you watch a movie that's completely done in CG, they have to impose their own limits on them.
Yeah.
And it makes it look better.
Yeah. Well, Kung Fu Panda, my favorite movie ever, has a scene where the bad guy is escaping from prison and something really similar happens. A bunch of rocks fall down. Like giant rocks fall down from the ceiling of the prison, and he's on one of those rocks as he's falling, and he makes a quick decision and starts jumping from rock to rock to get back up to the ceiling, which is physically impossible, but it looks so cool, and it looks really believable because they put all that gravity and force into his into his motions.
It looks a lot more believable than this Hobbit scene because, first of all, the rocks that he's jumping from are fucking huge.
Yeah.
So his mass does not influence them as much.
And he's a giant muscular leopard dude.
Yeah.
And in that scene, every one of his movements is just communicates all that martial arts prowess that he has.
And doesn't he, he doesn't make it all the way up.
Well, he does. He just barely does.
Right, but, you see him get up there, and then there's that moment where he's like, did he fall? Did he actually fall? And you're thinking, yeah, he could have actually fallen. Look at how fast those rocks were going, and look at the fact that they're giant rocks falling.
Yeah, and they use slow motion really well in that scene and in that movie overall.
Oh, it's such a good movie.
Yeah. Someday we'll talk about those movies because they are my favorite. I love martial arts, and I like talking animals too. They're funny.
Oh, maybe when the third one comes out.
Yeah.
That's,
one reason to look forward to winter. Yeah, January.
Okay. I'm cool with that.
Still in no rush for winter, but something good.
If they say that they have to push it back a little further to, finish the movie, how would you feel about that?
Sad,
because I remember last time we did this, we were talking about the Legend of Zelda movie or game getting pushed back.
Yeah, the thing is, if this gets pushed back, it wouldn't be to make the movie better. It would be because it's trying to avoid competition with movies that will probably be more financially successful. And that's stupid, and I hate when that has to happen. Like, Harry Potter backed off one year, I remember, to make room for Twilight.
Oh.
It's like, really?
Really? This is how you weed out the insincere.
Mm-hmm.
Make them choose. It's not like you're getting enough money anyway.
Yeah, when I kept reading this article, it pointed out CGI used to be used as a last resort.
Yeah.
And we don't have to do that anymore. I mean, we have the technology, and maybe we shouldn't always use it as a last resort, but maybe we should consider, the history of CGI and why people filmmakers treated it the way they did.
Mm-hmm.
And that we just go to it for every single thing now. Everything.
Yeah. And it's not just the creation of the things, it's the effects that they put over them, like all the layers and stuff. Because I'm looking at this article and they're talking about color grading, and you're like, wow, this makes a good point.
It does.
We're so used to seeing all these movies that have been, layered a little bit bluer and brighter, and you're like, now it just makes everything look more fake and theme parky.
I don't entirely understand. It's such an insecure thing to do. And one of the things I kind of like about watching old 80s or 90s movies, whether they're shitty or not, is they look a little more gritty and real.
Because they are.
A lot of them are shitty, though, but in other ways.
But they're fun.
Yeah, hopefully.
And there is something to be said about the fact that they actually had to make the effects. They didn't have the super good computer technology that we have today. Mm-hmm. And so they had to make their own, and they had to get creative about it.
And when they thought something was going to look fake, they were really cautious about it and made sure it didn't stay on camera for too long.
Or they just didn't use it.
If they had to, if there was no other way.
Like, okay, there's no possible way for us to convey this other than the fact that we have computers. So just make it quick.
Yeah.
Make it quick.
And finally, possibly the worst thing is the Uncanny Valley effect.
Oh, yeah. We've talked about this before, but let's go into it for a few minutes now since it's pertinent.
Scientists have officially found that humans have a fearful, disturbed reaction to something that looks human, but not quite.
It's right after it stops being a machine and right before it looks actually like a human.
Yeah, or it could be right after it stops looking like a cartoon and right before it starts looking like a human. Any of those things.
I think a great example of this would be iRobot.
Oh, yeah.
I liked iRobot.
Yeah, it was okay. It was okay.
I thought it was a good movie. I thought that the CG... it's been a while since I've seen it, but I know that the main characters, or the main character robot, had a plastic cover face, but it was still very obvious that this was a robot because it had a lot of exposed cables, and it wasn't like a skin suit.
But those guys were utilizing the uncanny valley for a deliberate effect.
Right. That was specifically a robot, and it was supposed to be like, this is the next phase in robotic technology. This is right before we have, photorealistic machines walking around that you can't tell apart from anybody else.
And all those robots attack people in that movie.
Except one.
The fact that they look disturbing is kind of intentional, I would like to hope.
Well, yeah, that had to have been intentional because they were using robots. But they only covered the face. They covered the face area with that plastic cover.
Everything else was robot?
Yeah, and everything else was robot.
Right.
They didn't use flesh tones. They didn't express themselves particularly much, except for one of them smiled, and it was kind of like, eh.
Yeah, it's pretty creepy.
But they're robots, and they had robotic faces, and it was covered with a plastic human face. So it looked fake, and it kept you on the other side of the uncanny valley.
Another good example of deliberate use of the uncanny valley is Attack on Titan.
Oh, yeah.
The Titans themselves. They are drawn in a more photorealistic way than the characters, right down to their eyes, their faces, more detailed, but they're not quite there yet. And some of their features are distorted, but not on all of them.
And they're animated at a higher frame rate.
Yeah, at least in the beginning they were.
And they move a little bit. It's just enough to put you in that situation. You're like, what is wrong with that thing?
Yeah, exactly. That higher frame rate also brings it closer to simulating real live action motion, but not quite. And in that animated scene, it looks so bizarre and really disturbing. And then they start eating people.
And yeah. And then the budget kind of gave out, and they needed to speed things along, and the animation got a little but
it was never too bad.
Yeah, and then they fixed it for the Blu-ray release. But that's not the point. The point is they did Uncanny Valley for a reason.
Yeah, but a lot of these films aren't doing that.
Yeah, you get a lot of mocap films that are all CG, but they decided for whatever reason to get the actors' faces in there. And you're like, okay, you haven't quite reached that fluidity of human movement. Everyone looks like a rag doll, and they've all got those cold, dead eyes.
Like on the animation spectrum, you've got the Will Smith fish from Shark Tale, and you've got that awful Disney movie Mars Needs Moms, and I just can't believe they had to go through that process to figure out, oh, hey, this looks creepy as fuck. It's scaring the kids. Nobody saw this movie.
Why do you... That's what pre-releases are for.
They still released both of those in theaters.
I know. But at least with Shark Tale, everyone was a fish, and it was like, oh, okay, this isn't so bad because everyone's a weird fish. With Mars Needs Moms, they had human people.
No, they didn't. They tried to convince us they did. When you put this stuff in live action, you get these plasticine, robotic moving, obviously fake humans that really shouldn't be on screen for more than a second. Because we can tell.
We can, and it takes us out of the experience.
It does. That's one of the biggest things about this misuse of CGI. It takes the viewer out of the experience. It reminds you constantly, hey, you're watching a movie. Hey, you're in a theater. Hey, that guy next to you is scratching his butt. He's sticking his elbow into your side.
But I wanna be in the movie where everybody's fighting orcs and there's really cool, real looking orcs everywhere.
Those aren't real orcs.
They're
Look,
not?
they're cartoons. They're cartoons.
Oh.
It's like Roger Rabbit all over again, only it's Middle Earth.
No, hang on. Roger Rabbit was awesome.
Yes, it was. But I'm talking about the mixture of cartoons living with real people. Failed joke. I apologize.
Yeah, I mean, that was a bad example because the the mixture of cartoons and real people was done so perfectly.
No.
in Roger
I'm
Rabbit.
talking like an in-universe example. Cartoons in real life living together. Mass
Dogs and
hysteria.
cats. I was glad we're on the same page.
Of course.
Again, after that little bit.
Yeah, I wonder what the CGI in Ghostbusters is gonna look like.
Oh, right, the all-female Ghostbuster thing?
Yeah, Ghostbusters, the original, their practical effects mixed with some filters and other stuff, that was pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, it was, every ghost that you saw was very clearly CG'd in. Either it was a person that they shopped in later, or it was Slimer, which was a model that they shopped in later.
Could they shop back then? Like,
it was very, very, it was basically cut and paste.
Yeah.
So, you look at the people that were ghosts and the creatures that were ghosts, and those were either actual people standing in a green room or a puppet that was made.
Yeah.
And
the Marshmallow Man was a guy in a suit.
Yep, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man was a guy in the suit doing his own Godzilla in New York type deal.
But they filmed it and they had all those miniatures arranged in such a way so as not to make you think that it was a miniature set.
Exactly. But like I said, even the ghosts in that movie were puppets that they then placed into a scene later. So there was still an aspect of realism to them.
Mm-hmm.
And because they were placed into the scene after and they were kind of see-through and they had all those filter effects, it was like you're looking at a legit ghost.
Yeah, I mean, they look really silly in Ghostbusters, so yeah, you can tell that's a puppet. But
you're supposed to be able to separate them from the real people.
Yeah. And Ghostbusters is awesome. Their execution was still great. They knew what they were and they went with it.
I mean, we saw it again because it came back out in theaters for one night.
Right, I remember that.
It was so good seeing it in theaters.
Oh, Natalie was so happy. It's her favorite.
It was great. I wish Kristen had been there for that.
Maybe next time.
In 30 more years.
30 more years. Just give it some time.
So, yeah, let's sum all this up by saying CG has its time and place.
Yeah, you have all this awesome technology. You are using it wrong. You're never going to learn your lesson because audiences will still go see the movie no matter what because they don't have any choice anymore because everything's the same and the American film industry is going to forget how to make a good movie. But thank God Mad Max came out because I feel a little better now.
Yeah, I'm so jazzed for Mad Max.
You're going to love it.
It's everything I want in a movie.
You are going to love it. Yeah. Anyway, Jurassic World, I won't be seeing you. Maybe when you're on Netflix.
Yeah, I mean, I want to see it, but at
Not
the same
enough.
time, I don't want to support the decisions.
Yeah, and movies are like $13 now. It's not worth it. And no, it's just
I'll pay
not.
$13 to see Mad Max.
Yes, that is worth it.
I'll pay $13 twice to see Mad Max.
Don't do that yet. I mean, I'm going to do that because I'm going to see it for a second time with you.
Right. I mean, and if we go during a matinee, it'll be less expensive.
Oh, right. Those are a thing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And the movie theater near me actually has all-day matinees on Tuesdays.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, so maybe... Yeah, I'll figure it out. I'm going to go see it.
Yeah. And everybody else should too, but you probably have because you're all smart people.
What? Thanks, Judith. Thank you. Thank you for that.
So now, Dan, who's apparently the only not smart person, what would you like to teach everybody?
Okay. As we've established before, I am a huge Nintendo fanboy.
Yeah, those were the words right in my head as you said that.
So, I will support a lot of Nintendo decisions. Mm-hmm. However, that said, I am incredibly disappointed right now.
Uh-oh. Nintendo, you fucked up. If Dan is disappointed and is not devil's advocating you?
I'm not gonna devil's advocate this because I can't support this decision. So, Nintendo last week made a big announcement for the upcoming E3. They had this cute little video where Reggie in the board meeting and they're like, guys, we're going to bring back the Nintendo World Championships. And the moment he said that, I had to pause the video. And I was like, yes, there is a God. And oh man, I immediately started looking everywhere for information. I mean, after I watched the video, it was great. Reggie does all of this workout stuff with old Nintendo equipment. Like he's deadlifting game cubes and bench pressing, and he's playing on the Virtual Boy.
He's gonna bench press. He should use an old Atari.
I think he had. I forget. I want to say that he had NESs strapped to a bell, or a dumbbell, basically. But
you can still use your old equipment
to get fit. and what was really great was he played the track and field game with that big pad.
Mm-hmm.
And he was running on it, and then eventually he just got down on his hands and knees and hit it with his hands like everybody did when they played that game.
That's cheating.
Well, that's the point. He was like, everybody did this, and he was totally playing into the nostalgia.
Of course, that's a thing they do.
Because the last time they did this was 1990. That was the year I was born.
Wow.
So this is a huge deal for someone like me.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't get a chance to participate.
All those memories from being a baby.
Shut up. I didn't
infinitely waving at the screen.
But now I've heard more about what's going on. So they said that they were going to be doing not Blockbuster, wow. They're going to be doing Best Buys where they're going to hold these qualifier things. So when I thought, I'm like, all right, maybe the Best Buy near me is going to have it, or maybe there's going to be a Best Buy in my area.
Right.
No. There are 8 Best Buys around the U.S. that are going to be doing this.
8?
8. 2 of them are in California.
Of course. California's so big, it counts for 2 states.
One of them's in Illinois.
What?
So there's 2 in California, 1 in Florida, 1 in Minnesota, 1 in Illinois, 1 in New York, 1 in Texas, and 1 in Washington.
Well, hey, wait, where in New York is it?
Long Island. I know.
I mean, that's not hard for me to get to. It just involves going to Long Island.
Yeah. And no one wants that. But 8. 8! Why would you only do this in 8 locations?
I wonder how expensive an endeavor it was.
That cuts out pretty much all of the Midwest.
Who cares about them?
Judith. Most of the South. A lot of New England.
Yeah.
And all up and down the East Coast.
Sorry, Florida.
No, Miami's got one.
Oh.
But, why? Why you have the opportunity to make this so big and so cool? Because esports is actually a thing that's happening.
So why do you think they're being so conservative?
Because Nintendo has been making so many bad decisions lately.
So they're having a board meeting and they're thinking, they say, hey, we've been making a lot of bad decisions lately.
Let's keep making bad decisions.
What's the worst thing we could do here? How many states does the U.S. have? 50.
12, maybe?
I'm feeling the number 8.
Maybe they just don't have enough faith in it because, like I said, it's been 25 years since they did this last.
Yeah, it does kind of seem like a very cautious sort of move.
It's super cautious. And that's not all that I'm disappointed about. It gets worse.
Oh, yeah?
So I was looking at the, what was it? The entrance registration and the page for the rules and everything. And so I told you there were 8 locations.
Right.
The first 750 eligible attendees in line will be able to compete.
Wait, what? Oh.
It's first come, first serve to the first 750 people.
There's going to be people camping out.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm really glad I don't want to do this already.
I know, right? So 750 times 8. That's like 4,400.
Yeah, that's a pretty small number.
Wait. Sorry, that's 5,800. 5,800.
Still relatively small, all things considered.
Considering that we have a population of 300 million.
Yeah, but how many of us actually play Nintendo games?
I'm at least 4 of them.
Okay. That gives me some perspective.
So, 750 people in all of these places.
Right.
Okay, maybe if it was 750 people in 1,000 locations, I would be a little bit more pleased with this.
Maybe they're trying to weed out gamers who suck, who aren't willing to go outside.
I'm not going to make the trip to Long Island.
Yeah.
That's like 2.5 hours for me.
That's 2.5 hours, and then you would have to set up camp outside
In Long Island.
In Long Island.
So this is strike 2.
What's going to happen at strike 3, Dan?
First strike 8 locations. Second strike, first come, first serve. Third strike.
Oh, there is a third strike.
There is a third strike. Do you want to know what the qualifying activity is?
Is it bench pressing GameCubes?
No.
Is it... What is it? It sucks, right?
It does. So you know that collection of NES mini games, basically, Ultimate NES Remix, where they released it for the DS, and they're like, "Hey, play short segments of all of these games that you like."
Yep.
That. That's what they're going to be doing.
You have to play that?
All participants will play Ultimate NES Remix Championship Mode using Nintendo-provided 3DS consoles only.
That's silly.
It's dumb.
They're trying to see who's a real fan, aren't they?
They're trying to see who has no life.
Isn't that what it takes to be a real fan of anything?
No. How dare you? This is Nintendo, the family company.
Yeah, so they say. They've not been making the most family-friendly moves, at least as far as some things go.
So, 8 locations, 750 first-come players, 1 person gets to come out of these playing the dumbest thing.
One person per location?
Yeah.
Ooh.
So there are going to be 8 finalists.
Right.
Playing games from 30 years ago.
And okay. Okay.
Just let that sink in.
The qualifying round eliminates everybody but 1 person?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. And then they're going to fly you out to somewhere, like California, I think, where they're going to hold the finals.
And then what are you going to play, Donkey Kong?
I don't know. But it's... Judith.
I'm sorry. Maybe if it does well. If it does well.
I'm so upset by this. I was so excited first. This is your topic and my topic are the complete opposite. Because people were going to Mad Max expecting a very typical action movie, and they were extremely pleased.
Yes.
I was expecting something amazing, hugely nostalgic, but updated to be fantastic in the new age, and was let down so hard.
I'm sure you're not alone.
I know I'm not alone. I was reading a Forbes article
talking
about how they're blowing it.
Why would they go to such an expenditure only to just go at this point?
My guess is that they don't have a whole lot of faith in it.
Then why are they doing it?
Maybe it's a testing the waters thing, and they'll bring it back next year bigger, and they'll try and make it an annual thing again.
Yeah, that would make sense. It just seems like this is so little faith that it's not going to get enough people excited.
It's the same kind of thing where it's like, oh, well, this show didn't have a whole lot of viewers. It's like, yeah, because you put it on at the worst time slot.
Yeah. Yeah, stop acting surprised.
Like, don't put your show on Friday night because everyone's going to be out having a good time.
But when a TV network sabotages a show, then I feel like it's one of the shows that they, belligerently accepted, and they're just finding a way to slowly kill it off. This is Nintendo deliberately reviving something that's decades old and bringing it back to the US.
It was a US thing originally.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's still a foreign company, but I guess it's Nintendo
Yeah.
of America's prerogative.
Yeah, Nintendo of America did the World Championships originally.
Bringing it back to modern fans, then.
Yeah. And,
So
okay.
there's no reason to sabotage it if you didn't want it to happen. Don't do it in the first place.
And, like, I don't know if you know this, but Nintendo sold the cartridges for the original World Championships at the time. They would sell the cartridges that were used. And there were these shiny gold, like the Zelda ones, and they had all the games on them.
Right.
Those are so hard to get and so rare. People pay thousands of dollars for these cartridges.
Wow.
That is how such a big deal it was.
So maybe if they give them away again, people just have to hang on to them for 30 years.
They already did give them away. It's the NES remix thing that's available.
That's what you... Oh, wow. I'm sorry.
No, I mean 25 years ago, they sold the cartridges for these games that they used. Mm-hmm. And they can't really do that again today.
Right.
Because it's already on your 3DS.
Yay!
I am so disappointed. I was so ready for this.
Nintendo, what is up with you?
Because, like, Reggie did this whole thing. He was like, it's going to be the first time in 25 years. And I'm like, oh my god, I actually have a chance. I could compete in this. I'm kind of good at video games. I might be able to qualify, and oh my god. I'm kind of good at video games.
Yeah.
I was thinking, like, maybe they would do some Wii Fit games with the balance board, or Smash Brothers stuff. Or Splatoon, because
or
that's
anything popular.
Anything that they've been doing lately that's awesome.
I'm surprised. But kinda not. I don't know.
I'm not so much surprised as I am disappointed.
I know.
This is a sad Dan.
There. The first come first served thing is possibly the worst. I don't know if they had any alternative to doing that. Maybe they could have done online sign-ups or something.
Maybe they could have opened more locations.
Or that.
I mean, it's not going to be that hard. You go to a Best Buy, be like, hey, we're going to play this game. It's digitally transferred, and they already have DSs.
It kind of feels like they're doing a little importing of the Japanese line waiting culture with the way they've been releasing the amiibos, and now this, where if you really love this thing, you're going to live outside for a few days.
I have a life. You have a life.
But do you love that thing more than life itself? Because
No!
that guy does. He's outside right now.
That's why that guy doesn't have a life.
Because he loves this thing so much. That's why he's going to get the thing.
I love people more than I love things.
I have created this situation for you where you have to choose this thing or people.
Okay, well, in this situation that you've created, I have the money.
Despite the fact that I've created this situation, if you don't get the thing you want, it's your own fault for not caring enough.
But I have the money.
I have more money!
You should be catering to my money.
What did you say? I can't hear you.
You want my money, right?
Nintendo.
There are just no words to describe my disappointment.
Yeah,
It
you've
could
probably
have-
used the word disappointment more than any other word in this cast so far.
It could have been so big and so great. This could easily have been bigger than any StarCraft or League of Legends tournament.
Maybe you should try writing to them angrily again. They answered you last time.
Yeah, I wrote to them about amiibos, and they're like, well, let me tell you a thing. Don't worry about it.
A thing we may or may not do.
Yeah, and then they announced that they were re-releasing a bunch of amiibos, so...
Still gonna wait on that, but yeah.
But I was actually surprised that they answered me. And since this is an NOA property, maybe it would actually mean something to write to them. Because the amiibos are Japanese. Mm-hmm. But the World Championships is American.
You can try it.
I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna write another message to Nintendo, be like, hey guys, you fucked up.
When you write that, read it out loud for all of us.
Here's how you fucked up. Let me explain why. I probably won't phrase it that way. Although I'll write 2 letters, The one that I want to write and the one that I'm going to write.
Yeah, and then just do a live reading next week.
Yeah. Dear Nintendo. Oh man, so I live in Connecticut, and our governor is Governor Malloy, and he fucks up a lot.
Yep.
And it has become a meme in my own house that whenever something dumb or awful happens, they all look at me because a while back I did this huge fake letter writing joke where I would start with, "Dear Governor Malloy, this is why you suck. Let me explain to you how much you suck." And I would just go on and on explaining why the situation was bad. And so now my mom, my dad, my sister will look at me and they'll just look me dead in the eye and go, "Dear Governor Malloy." Which is especially awful since he got reelected for some reason. But yeah, like, this is exactly that kind of situation. Dear Reggie.
You should do it in the angry fat dude voice.
Dear Reggie, I'm ready to tell you about why the Nintendo World Championships is going to fail.
Like that?
Exactly like that. You know, sound like a real professional.
Or should I do the angry nerd voice?
No, that one hurts your face.
It really does. All right, so yeah, I'll write a letter, and then I will read it for everyone to hear in the angry, nine-jowled voice.
Yes, we hereby promise it will be a dramatic reading.
Yeah, we haven't done that in a while.
No, we haven't.
I don't even
We're pretty good at them.
I'm pretty sure that we didn't even record the ones that we did.
Oh, man, that's too bad.
Do you remember the cheese biscuit thing?
Yes.
Maybe I'll have to read that one again. Maybe next week will be dramatic reading week.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a couple for you.
So, that'll actually be fun. Let's do that.
Yeah, let's make a note.
Yeah.
Then we'll see you guys next week.
And hopefully by next week I will have caught up on all the uploading, so
Hopefully.
It'll actually be next week. Oh, and
Quiet,
you know what,
this is all on
Judith?
schedule. What?
You know what, Judith? You'll actually be here.
Oh, yeah.
And we could do it in the same room.
You'll get to hear us in the same room. It's a privilege.
It's a lot more fun.
I declare it one right now.
Yeah.
Okay, we will see you then.
Cheers. All right.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Later.